It's Friday the 30th of June. Certainly feels like a long week this week. We've had a lot of volatility and it's been a little bit tricky, but we came out top in the end. So here's what happened in the private Twitter room. The USD JPY daily chart, as we were talking about last week, there was a bullish bias because of the spike double bottom into demand. So based on the higher time frame analysis, we were looking to get long off some intraday zones. The first one I took a long at 111.50 and got stopped out of that one. The second trade I took a trade at 111.40 and my target was 111.64, which we achieved, and that more than paid for the previous loser. Moving on to Euro USD, I was looking to sell this FOMC level and we did get a little bounce off of it, but then it ploughed through and took me out for a loss. Now I was pretty happy to get out of that trade because it then continued for another 200 pips, and I do know of some people that thought they would hold and see if it reversed, and I don't advise doing that because we don't know how far it's going to go. Best thing is just take the loss and move on to the next trade. The next trade was a short on the USD JPY. This was an intraday trade and it was against the overall bias on the daily time frames of long. All I was looking to do was to sell these supply zones and have my overall stop at the high, so I was going to spread the risk between the two supply zones. In the end, I decided to close the first trade at break even, and I actually flipped my bias to long, and I'm going to explain to you why that is. So why did I flip my bias to long? Well, as we know, on the daily time frame the bias was long, and it was probably a little bit sloppy of me to attempt to take shorts in the first place. Secondly, we had a demand zone form over here, so there was a fast move away. This is where the move started, and we can draw that zone to here, and you'll see that the market pinned off of that zone. Thirdly, it was forming this trend line, this bull flag, and you can draw that like that, and the market came up, bounced off of the second supply zone, although at that point I wasn't interested in taking a short, and then bounced off the back of the trend line. Now I actually got long on the break of this trend line at 112.12, and finally this supply zone had been engulfed, and that's a small signal that we're no longer going to be short. So for my engulfed zones I like to draw them in blue. Now this is quite a tricky trade and I ended up holding it into the next day. Very frustrating, but you'll see that it did pay off in the end. So we're into the next day on the USD JPY. I'm holding this long and I spot another setup on the 15-minute chart. So basically it's a break of this high and a retest, and I was looking to get long off of this demand. In fact, I had my order waiting at the top of these wicks because I've been front run so many times and it doesn't pay to be 1 pip accurate. So I had my order waiting here, got filled on it, and I was in 2 positions at that point. So targets on the daily chart, there's a big supply zone here at 113 the figure, and that was my ultimate target. I got out a bit earlier, and the reason I got out is first of all I saw a little rejection, and I saw a little rejection off of this wick, and so I closed that trade at 112.90. Finally we move to the USD CAD daily chart. Now if you remember last week I bought off of this support level here and we made some decent pips off of that one, so I thought I'd have another go trying to buy demand lower down. Well, I went in with a half size risk, the reason being that we'd bounced off of the underside of this channel and that got taken out for a loss. So no big deal there, and we've had a very good week. It's been a tricky week, but we've come out on top again. So a quick summary, all the trades that we take on the private Twitter feed are called in advance before they happen, and the return for this week was 4.15%. Well, that's it for this week. Let me know if this video was useful for you. And if you'd like to learn more, head over to members.tradersimon.com. And with that, I'll see you next week.